In September 2012, the U.S. consulate at Benghazi, Libya, was overrun by Islamic militants, leading to the death of Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens and 3 others. This week, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform reopened hearings on the White House response to the attack.
Everyone will kindly take their seats, please. Please, good afternoon. We welcome you to this, the third day of hearings on our government's bungled response to the attacks last September on our consulate in Benghazi, Libya. Before I call our leadoff witness, let me first say how truly unfortunate it is that our mainstream media, with the exception of Fox News, has shown such a lack of interest in this important story. I think that's a shame and a disgrace.
Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes a gentleman from Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think the reason that the media hasn't covered these hearings is that everyone knows this is just a partisan witch hunt and a chance to attack the President and Secretary of State Clinton.
While my Democratic colleague is welcome to his opinion, I like to see him and his friends in the media ignore these hearings after they hear from our first witness. The chair calls Ms. Jody Arias.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Representative Gowdy, your witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Miss Arias, let's talk about the events at Benghazi. When were you first made aware that our consulate was under attack?
I guess this morning. Is it still going on?
No, it happened last September, but my question...
Who do you think did it?
Well, we know who did it. It was Ansar al-Sharia.
Well, if you know who did it, then why are you holding these hearings?
Miss Arias...
Again, we were misled that there was supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
I would also like to thank the committee for your continued efforts in investigating all the details and all the decisions related to the attack on our diplomatic facility. Specifically, the committee's labors to uncover what happened prior, during, and after the attack matter. It matters to me personally, and it matters to my colleagues, at the Department of State. It matters to the American public for whom we serve. And most importantly, it matters to the friends and family of Ambassador Stevens, Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, and Tyrone Woods, who were murdered on September 11th, 2012.
Where they have a trickier argument, though, is in actually proving what Hillary Clinton knew about the terrorist attack. And that's why you hear so much about the video. Was it the video that spurred this attack, or was it Islamic terrorists, and why are they covering it?
You're still getting into the question of spin. I think the only thing that matters to the American people, was anyone derelict enough to let somebody die who was a good guy? And I think that's an issue with most people. Humans, that is. Mm-hmm. Maybe not Republicans.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is the online, on-demand internet talk radio show where we cover the fascinating world of industrial threaded fasteners, as well as miscellaneous related tomfoolery. And we're glad you joined us today, everyone. Eric Dudas here, and back with me in the FTR studios after our absence last episode is the co-host of Fully Threaded Radio. Finally back from a whirlwind travel schedule, he's Brian Musker. Hey, Bri.
Hi. Ready for some tomfoolery? It would have been a different description where I was. I spent a week in Rome, a week in Florence, and a week in Cologne in Germany.
Yeah, and then you got back and you went off to KC. Well, we're going to cover that a little bit. I don't know how you do it, man.
You know, I'll tell you, I had everything sort of worked out pretty well. Our problem was dealing with the uploads and processing them. And so I went off with my trusty little Dell computer. And by days, I'd be visiting papal basilicas in Rome, and by night time processing these uploads. And then the power supply burnt out.
On your Dell?
On my Dell. And I have to tell you that this made me rethink Dells, because I could have bought power supplies for any laptop, but you can only buy Dell stuff online, and I couldn't buy a power supply. Not possible. And if you're living somewhere, you just wait for it to be delivered. If you're in a hotel or somewhere, you can't do that. So, big problem with Dells if that's your only laptop when you're traveling.
What a headache.
Yeah, what a mess. Well, I had to, my friends in Germany lent me another power supply when I got there, but I never in a million years ever thought the power supply would burn out.
Well, I know that FCH users are very grateful that you are so conscientious and you were even working while you were on your trip. But I don't think there was too big of a blip, and the network went on thanks to you.
Well, thanks to everyone.
Well, it's good to be back. And straight off, I'd like to thank John Butler of K&L Sales and Andy Pelz of ScrewCrew.com for sitting in for us on FTR 63. That's the first time we let any other team take the reins of the show, and I think it was a great success.
Yeah, I think they both did a great job, actually, and I'm a bit concerned they might have aspirations on taking over completely from us, but especially John, okay? Andy's not quite so ready yet.
Well, if you listen closely, I think you'll hear vestiges of John in today's episode, but we can get to that later.
Right.
Hey, Jason Sandifer was also sitting in for the out-of-pocket Mike McNulty. He had the Fastener News report last episode, and he did a great job, too. Y'all sounded great, and we really do appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is episode 64 of Fully Threaded Radio, and we're publishing on May 16th, 2013. The feature segment on today's edition is a conversation with Stealthfast Chicago branch manager Jackie Hunter, along with Midwest sales manager Jim Overlin. We'll talk about what they see in their market these days, and also hear about a very exciting new product line that Stealthfast recently announced. Mike McNulty is back this episode, and this time he's joined by Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets to discuss the April FDI results. Mike also has the industry headlines for us, and a few choice comments about a commencement speech that was delivered at his alma mater recently.
A few choice words. I can imagine with Mike that's true.
As only Mike McNulty can do it.
Yeah.
And to get things started, you and I will try to bring everybody up to speed on some of our recent travels, both Fastener-related and otherwise, and we'll do that right after we thank our sponsors. The title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Stealthfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stealthfast. Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Fastenal. Volt Industrial Plastics. And the last episode, we welcomed a new sponsor to the show, and we'd like to thank them again since it's you and I back in the saddle. And that new sponsor is Buckeye Fasteners, and they're based out of Brook Park, Ohio.
Yes, and to all our sponsors, thank you very much. You don't make these shows out of thin air. You have to plan them, and it takes time. And, that's time we have to take away from FCH. So these sponsors are very important to us.
They are, and in fact, we have another new sponsor to announce. The latest member of the FTR sponsor lineup is none other than Solution Industries. They operate out of Middleburg Heights, Ohio, and they're a great bunch of guys over there. Don and John, sure do appreciate you being on, and I think the new line of spots that you have prepared for us are going to bring a lot of smiles and a lot of attention to your business.
Yeah, I think so too. Very cool.
So thanks to all our sponsors. And you can contact us if you'd like to join the team, or if you just have other things you'd like to say to us. We'd be glad to hear from you at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also out there on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, everybody. We really do appreciate it. We'll get to all of the aforementioned fastener flummery, plus some assorted spontaneous hilarity, I'm sure, right after this. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plow bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been servicing the fastener community since 1905. An employee-owned company for 33 years, we take great pride in the quality of products we sell, offering outstanding customer service from our very knowledgeable sales team members. Our standard product lines include braided weld screws, resistance weld fasteners, leg levelers, tube inserts, clevis pins, and various other fasteners. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. We also have an entire team of sourcing specialists able to locate those hard-to-find items with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times than that of our competition. We offer same-day shipments from one of our warehouses, strategically located throughout the United States and Canada, enabling us to fulfill all your fastener needs in a very timely manner. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or visit us on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, product support from development to implementation.
In this economy, I need to cut cost and freight or I'll lose my customer.
Solution Man can. The more you order, the more you'll save. With free freight on orders over $1,000. See the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
Hi, this is Steve Rogala with Bradley Coatings, your patch experts in the application of pre-applied adhesives and sealants, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
I've been in the fastener industry for longer than most of you, 37 years. I did want to get into the nut and bolt industry because I was had Heads and Threads janitor when I started. And I used to go into LZ, who was the vice president of Heads and Threads back then, and I used to go into his office for an hour, 2 hours, and he would just tell me about the fastener industry. Again, I didn't go to college. I was a garbage man before that, so I looked at it as a real opportunity. Actually, the first day I took I went in to be a janitor. I applied for the job, and then I came back. Monday, I was supposed to be there at 6 a.m., and I come in at noon, and I walked to the general manager, and I said, I quit. He says, you didn't even start. I said, well, I quit. I don't want to be a janitor. And as I walk out, he said, what would you like to do? I said, I'd like to work in sales. He said, okay, you're hired. Start Monday or start tomorrow morning. So as I'm walking out the door, he says, oh, by the way, you take a cut in pay.
That was the voice of Mark Campion of Varvet USA. They're an Italian manufacturer. And had you been at the North Coast Fastener Association back on May 2nd, you would have heard him interject those comments and more during the panel discussion, which went really well, Bri.
Right. Yeah, I was listening to other Italian commentary, okay?
That's right, during your trip to Europe.
Yeah.
Well, this event was in Independence, Ohio, and this year's North Coast Fastener Association event was really a success. I'm pretty sure it was the largest ever. I believe the final tally was about 240 attendees.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah. And the aforementioned panel discussion, we had some real heavy hitters there. It was Don Shan of Solution Industries, Dan Zender of Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Simi from Stelfast, of course, Bob Fawcett of Nucor, and last but not least, Steve Andrasik of BBI. And if you're interested in recapping that panel discussion, it's available on YouTube. Andy Graham from National Threaded did a very good job of packaging that whole thing up, putting it up on YouTube. You can just go out to YouTube and search NCFA Distributor Social. It'll come right up.
Right.
And, the funny thing was when this segment with Mark Campion took place, he really kind of took the floor and stunned a lot of people, and you could see the reactions.
Right.
But I got to tell you, it's always good to get audience participation, and during this particular panel discussion, it was, I would say, fairly spirited, and a lot of people participated, so I appreciate everybody being out there. And then subsequently, of course, the social itself was jam-packed, and the food and drink was abundant, and again, can't say enough about it.
Good.
Seems like the fastener industry is on a roll for successful events this spring so far. You headed out to the All-American Fastener Show out there in Kansas City, and I heard good things.
Yeah, this is All-American Fastener Show. It was May 8th and 9th, and I'd never been to Kansas City before, and Heidi Voltrauer did a great job of organizing the show, and just the brief comments I got, interviewed people, very positive, okay? Had really many more people than last time, and very positive view of everything, actually. So it spells good things for the next one. And, spoke to Rich Cavoto over there, a friend from Metric and Multi-Standard. And Wayne Wishnu was very sociable as long as he was sure I was not having a microphone on. Every few minutes, you haven't got that recording, have you? No, not yet. No, it's just fine, okay? But it was very good, and it's a great environment to sit down and just in a very relaxed to talk to a whole lot of other people in the fastener industry, and it was very good. I really enjoyed it.
So they had a beef brisket buffet. Was that what I heard?
Yeah, well, it was beef brisket and all sorts of other things. Great spread, and so the opening social was really good. And I met some of our members I hadn't met before. It was very good to meet them from around the Missouri area. And that was just a good thing. It was really just a nicely organized thing. I liked it. Liked the whole attitude of it.
So the way the All-American show is panning out then, are we supposed to regard this now as a regional show, or were there people from other areas as well? I mean, what did you feel about that?
Well, there were people from other areas. I mean, we had various people that we know and from California. I had people I talked to from Texas. I would say it was not regional, but probably I was surprised, actually.
Very cool. Well, I mean, you're a marathon kind of guy because you had just gotten back from like 3 weeks on the road in Europe, and then you turned around and you went out to KC, and I was beyond amazed. And apparently, aside from the Dell breaking down, it was a pretty good experience.
Yes, yeah, we've been to Rome before. We spent a week in Rome, but we were looking basically at, I guess, from the Roman Imperial period, the stuff. Went to Hadrian's Villa, went all over the place and chasing sculptures from Michelangelo and Bernini, and then went up to Florence, Siena, around there, had a great time, and really saw many, many things. I've seen probably more churches than I need to see in a long time. That would be a fair comment. Each one of them was really pretty stunning. So that's what Rome is so amazing about Rome. Every corner is another church that's got some Bernini sculpture or Michelangelo sculpture stuck away somewhere in it.
Right. So you had your guts full of Bernini in the afternoon, Chianti for dinner, and Fasteners at night.
That's right. Not a bad combination, actually.
Well, I know it was a great trip, but it was long, and it's good to be back. I, in the meantime, was hanging out in the desert out in the Tucson area, Tucson, Arizona. Got a great invitation from Mike Rodriguez to participate in the Southwest Fastener Association Spring Conference, and I sure do appreciate that. Had a great time. Tom Stocking of Stelfast is the new president of the SFA, and the meeting was really well run. I tell you what, there's nothing like you might have had what you had out there in the All-American, but man, the guacamole buffet was beyond good if you're a guac fan.
Okay, cool.
One thing that I came away with after attending the Southwest event is seems like all the fastener associations, to one level or another, are grappling with similar issues. Somebody will throw the question out there, what is it that we're trying to do? How do we attract more distributors? How much should we be investing in education? And it's very interesting to see. We'll be talking in a few minutes about some upcoming events, and I know that these are going to be recurrent themes, but each one of these regionals, they're having similar experiences, and I don't know. For some reason, it's just comforting to know that.
Yeah, right.
Our home association, of course, being the Midwest Fastener Association.
Correct.
But that is not to say we don't have other very good friends out there in the association world, and one of those is the Pac-West, and they recently held the 4th annual Mel Kirsner Memorial Golf Outing. Got a press release here from Vicki Lester. And again, in the winner's circle, somehow, Porteous Fastener Company has made it back. Scott Gibson was repping PFC this year. Along with him was Ted Siddiqui from Argos Material Distribution and Dave Lewis of Tamarco. And they took first place honors. This event was held on May 6, 2013, and that was at the Volano Country Club in Chino Hills, California. This year, I guess they had an extensive rain delay, which I didn't think that happened in California, but
right.
Maybe it gave everyone a chance to get a little warmed up, shall we say, beforehand, and that explains the results.
Right, yeah. You can't just sit down gloomily and look out the window when it's raining. You've got to be doing something.
Well, you got to crack a few cold ones.
Yeah. So what happened to our mates, the truckies?
Well, good question. And they are definitely on the ticket, but second place honors went to Kevin Chappell of Ababa Bolt, Tim Marzano of ND Industries, and our good friend Tracy Lehman of Pacific Warehouse Sales.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So she snuck into the money again this time.
Right.
In third place was Bob and Joe Truckee, along with Bob and Brent Reynolds of InSequel.
Wow. Lots of people we know.
Yeah. And I know Joe was having some troubles with his knees earlier, and I know that's can't be easy for him to play. So my guess is had he been playing at full speed, you never know what the results might have been. But congratulations all on the 4th annual Mel Kirsner. Very successful event for Pac-West.
Yeah.
We've got another major Fastener Association golf outing coming up, and that's from the MWFA. That's happening on June 27th this year. That's at the Eaglewood Resort in Itasca, Illinois. It's usually very well attended, so I suggest everybody get out there, and the website for that is www.mwfa.net. Get your team together, get on the card, and before that, the MWFA, of course, along with Fastener Technology International, has their premier event, and that's their every other year Fastener Tech show. This year it's happening June 10th through the 12th in Rosemont, Illinois. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the event that you and I are going to be sponsoring, the breakout session.
Right.
But this is going to be a great event, and you can get details for Fastener Tech 2013 at the fastenertech.com website, or you can go to the Midwest Fastener Association website. But again, that's June 10th through the 12th, and that's in Rosemont, Illinois this year. It's going to be a very big show.
Right. I was talking about that to Rich Cavoto. He said they've got really a lot of enthusiastic booking for the booths. And I was encouraging other people I met over at the All American Fastener Show that if they're not going to, make sure they try and turn up. It's worth it, especially for people who don't normally go to this thing. So it's the rule: be there or be square.
And, of course, this year they've got the added fuel. They're co-locating with the Surface Finishers show, which actually is, as it turns out, even slightly larger, I think, than the Fastener Tech show. But the cool thing also is the NFDA is dovetailing their conference this year, happening June 12th through the 13th. So I think you're going to get a lot of people that are coming in for that, and they're going to double dip. The NFDA's event really taking place at the Intercontinental O'Hare, which is right next door, but I think it's going to add a lot more fuel, a lot more energy, and as we mentioned during a previous episode of Fully Threaded, they've really built up this Rosemont area, so it's a pretty good place to have a convention.
Yeah, there's plenty of hotels and restaurants and things around there, and it's very easy very close to O'Hare, so that's even more convenient.
Yeah, it's really easy to get in and out of. Now, the breakout session that we talked about before, we're going to have Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets join us. We're going to talk a little bit about the Fastener Distributor Index. We're also going to talk about 3D printing. We're also going to talk about some of the new innovations and tools that are available for the fastener industry. It's going to be a fantastic event, which is happening on June 11th. That's really the first full day of the show floor being open, and this is going to happen at 4 p.m. right before the big reception bash, and so we're kind of sandwiched right in there, and we're hoping to get several hundred people.
And you won't be disappointed, because you'll be interested to see this whole 3D printing thing, because to many people it's just a name or a word or whatever, but when you see these things working, you'll realize that parts of the industry are going to change.
That's absolutely true. I spent a little time on the phone this afternoon with Joe Greenslade discussing this subject. We were perusing the Thingiverse website, and there's just no question that this is going to be destined to smash into a lot of people in the fastener world in their path in the near future. Now, I'm not saying this is going to take over anybody's business 100%. I mean, that's not what we're suggesting. It's just that this technology is evolving, the price is coming down, and there's so many interesting things that you could do with it, especially when you consider the new material options that will be available soon.
Right.
This will just be a little bit of probably an eye-opener for some people.
I mean, it's going to change parts of the industry very much for the better.
Well, that's what we're hoping. Again, that's our breakout session at Fastener Tech 2013. The session will happen June 11th at 4 p.m. To pull all this stuff off, Bri, I was hearkening back to one of our previous episodes. We have to be fairly indefatigable to do all this stuff. And, of course, we had given friend Tom Buddenbone of Technology Components Southwest that moniker. And I got a kick out of this. I was listening to the Dennis Miller radio show a couple of weeks back, and Senator Mike Lee called in and was talking to Dennis, and he threw that word out, which is kind of funny because Dennis Miller made a big deal out of his use of that word.
Well, of course, Dennis Miller is one of these rare people who actually is able to handle big words, and he's a very eloquent speaker, actually.
He's got an amazing vocabulary, that's true. But one thing that I found interesting was Senator Lee pronounced the word slightly differently. And let me see if I can say it as he did. Indefatigable. Indefatigable, not indefatigable as we said it. So now I'm in a little bit of a quandary.
I don't think you'd need to worry too much. I mean, I think what it's based on, fatigue. It's got to be the major pronunciation.
Well, maybe he thought it had something to do with weight loss.
It could be.
Well, one thing's for sure, guys like you and me and Tom Buddenbone running around the tennis court all the time, I guess we don't have as big of an issue with that, especially if we keep up at this pace. And I think we've probably yammered on long enough, and it's time for us to talk to our sponsors a little bit and come back with the Fastener News Report. What do you say, Bri?
Yeah, time.
We'll be right back.
Online Fastener Talk Radio. Hey, at least it kills time on long road trips. Fully threaded radio.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plow bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
Our hearts are in fasteners, so join us in the heart of the fastener industry for Fastener Tech 13. This is Nancy Rich, Fastener Tech Show Manager, inviting you to join us June 10th through 12th for an event hosted by Midwest Fastener Association and Fastener Technology International and sponsored by Fastener Industry Groups. This is an event produced by the fastener industry for the fastener industry. Its success returns to the industry through scholarships, education, and various other programs. Fastener Tech allows many fastener and fastener-related companies a great opportunity to meet with their industry and source many products in one location. The trade show will feature fastener manufacturers, heat treaters, platers, and other fastener service companies. Fastener Tech will also feature educational and industry informational seminars. You'll also have the chance to enjoy several social events. Your time at Fastener Tech will include great networking opportunities. Fastener Tech 13 will be held at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. Be part of an event bringing American industry together. More details of this event may be found at www.fastenertech.com or at www.mwfa.net.
Hi everyone, it's Brian Musker. If you're listening to Fully Threaded, then you're no doubt aware of the FCH sourcing network found at fastenersclearinghouse.com. You've probably also heard about our legendary scrubber software that makes listing your inventory on FCH a snap. But have you heard about the new FCH SmartLink interface? With SmartLink, users of Business Edge, InSQL, and Distribution 1 have a new weapon in the war against excess inventory, because each of these platforms now links directly to the FCH Scrubber system through an automated interface. The best part is that this new tool is available at no additional charge to FCH members who use Business Edge, InSQL, or Distribution 1. With SmartLink, you can keep your inventory listings up to date with the click of a button, so it's a win-win for all FCH users. The new FCH FastLink interface is really big news, and we'll be thrilled to have your company using it. Business Edge, InSQL, and Distribution One users should contact their software provider for details, or just call me, Brian Musker. You can reach me through the FCH website at www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. That's fasteners with an S, and the S is for scrubber.
I know my customers' yearly usage, but I don't have the warehouse space to store it.
Solution Man can. Submit a blanket order, and I'll not only set up release dates, I'll offer you bulk pricing too. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionInd.com.
You're my fastener superhero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
Hi, this is Andrew Dostal from TriStar Metals, delivering stainless steel, aluminum, and nickel alloy solutions in bar and wire form. You are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you on the blowtorch of the fastener industry. Fully Threaded Radio.
Torching away.
Well, the other blowtorch of the industry, of course, is fastenersclearinghouse.com.
Correct.
And Brian, you and I are the guys who bring that to the industry. And everyone, we hope you're using the network whenever the need comes up to find a hard-to-find fastener part. Or on the other side of that coin, if we can help you move some inventory, please get with us. Again, that's fastenersclearinghouse.com, the FCH sourcing network. Now, we mentioned last time we were on the show together that we were in the process of doing some pretty big server build-outs, and there's a couple of weirdnesses that are happening. What's the story with all of that, Bri?
Well, what's happening is we're testing a new environment, and our existing environment is creaking a bit. And we're being a little careful, so we're transitioning some of the statistics that we worked on. We told you about a couple of months ago. Some of those are being transitioned over to a new way of being shown, and in that process, there's maybe a bit of squirreliness going on. The data's all sitting there. It's just us getting it to you in the right way. And so we are taking a little bit longer to get to some of your uploads. That's not anything other than a completely planned method, okay? We're just putting our resources in different places, and we'll get to everything, and we're just making sure that everything keeps really working right, okay? Maybe a touch slower, the searches, but they're still equally good with the results.
Yeah, I've been banging around out there a little bit, and occasionally you'll see a little slowdown, but I would say overall it's still pretty acceptable. So what's our ETA on the completion of the upgrade project, Bri?
Yeah, I believe that the servers are put together, they're testing them, and my latest info is that they expect possibly over the, not this coming weekend, the next weekend, to be doing the transition into a new servers, okay?
Very cool. Now, not to get too geeky about it, but I know that we're also going to be upgrading the database format to the new format of the software, and that takes another little bit of testing too, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. I mean, the transition is we're going to have to take ourselves offline for the better part of a day. There's a lot of, we've got nearly 1 million records in the Fastener database alone. It takes a lot of time to rebuild all those. So our current plan is to plan for it on a Sunday morning, which is probably the lightest activity on our site.
Makes sense to me, man. Well, everybody, again, get out there to fastenersclearinghouse.com, and we'd be thrilled to have you using the network and to move your inventory as well.
Right.
Now, coming up, we've got the Fastener News Report, and Mike and Holden will be talking about the Fastener Distributor Index. And I'd like to take another moment to invite everyone to participate in the Fastener Distributor Index. If you get out there to the website, fdisurvey.com, you can see a place where you can register to get your company on board. It's a confidential survey. It happens monthly. It takes less than 2 minutes to do. And the most important thing is it's very, very beneficial for the whole industry.
Right. And so we run the website, and Holden is the one who gives us the questions, and we channel all the results through to him, and BB&T Capital Markets analyzes them to come up with the number.
And we'll hear the most recent number for that in just a moment, as soon as we thank our sponsors. The sponsor of the Fastener News Report this time is Volt Industrial Plastics. Also, Fastener Technology International Magazine, And of course, the title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Stelfast. We're also sponsored by Fastenal, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Buckeye Fasteners, and Solution Industries. Thanks to all our sponsors.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to all of you.
Here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Well, the federal government's mask is slipping again this month with the revelation of a mountain of dishonest and corrupt behavior, but thanks to a host of regional fastener events and outings, I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver the May 16th edition of the Fastener News Report. In today's top story, we're going to get the April 2013 results of the Fastener Distributor Index Survey, better known as FDI. Also in today's report, we have some newsmaker headlines from the Industrial Fasteners Institute, IHG Capital, Starborn Industries, Northeast Fasteners, the Elgin Fastener Group, and some springtime fastener events. We also have a back page report on a commencement speech. We will get to all of that and the FDI results for April right after this.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
Mike McNulty.
In April, the Fastener Distributor Index slipped slightly to 51.6, which is about a 2% drop from the previous month's FDI result. FDI data is collected and analyzed by BB&T Capital Markets and the FCH Sourcing Network, and it seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get the inside story on more of the same FDI for April, we talked to Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Hi, Holden. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
As always, Mike, it's my pleasure. I look forward every month to getting on here to talk about the FDI.
Well, I'm glad you could join us again. Now, 51.6 in April is safely above the midpoint, but somewhat sluggish compared to last month. What do you think these results are telling us?
Well, I think that this is these readings are getting a bit boring, I would say. Yeah, I mean, the 51.6 reading in April is clearly below the March reading, which came in at 52.8, but you know, there's obviously the technical number, and then there's the number in substance. And in substance, there's not a big difference between a 51.6 April and a 52.8 March. It's a little bit north of 50, which tells you that results were, you know, okay, but not great. What I think is meaningful here is that you are getting, after what was a reasonably roller coaster sort of January and February, what you're beginning to get is some settling in the numbers. And that settling, for better or for worse, is happening very much like it finished last year, which is to say in sluggish growth territory. And so, you know, I think that the one way to characterize the reading is simply to say that, you know those things that you've been experiencing the last few months, well, we're still experiencing those. And, I think that's the way to sort of look at the actual headline number.
Right. Now 51.6 that's a composite number that's made up of the other numbers. Is there any of those sub numbers that were improving or getting worse compared to last time, or were they the same on the same track as well?
No, you're right. The FDI is actually a compilation of 4 different indicators, and not every indicator is as meaningful every month as the other ones. But we did have some moving pieces this month, which another way perhaps to characterize sort of the April reading, which we would have characterized this way in March, is it was a reading in April that had teasers in it. Again, the overall environment's no different, but if you look at sort of the pieces of the FDI, sales got quite a bit better. We always like to see that. It follows off sales that were relatively weak in March, but sales got a fair bit better. The number didn't improve, though, because inventories got a fair bit worse. And the way this indicator works is, if people are working down inventories, they're not buying product that makes for a tough month. But as anybody can tell you, you can only work inventories down so far. And, it's not like inventories being low is in and of itself a reason that people have to get more aggressive with their purchasing behavior. But what happens is if you've sort of exhausted all of your inventory and there's any indication whatsoever that people should be more aggressive, demand ticks up or what have you, then then typically those low inventories act as a bit of kindling to really spike some new purchasing. And so when I look at the FDI reading itself, what I find is a reading which tells me that April was more of the same. But if we can get something, any catalyst at all, the inventories look like they've come in somewhat low, and that could actually result in in sort of a nice short-term sort of recovery in overall demand levels. Now, of course, Mike, the question is, what is that catalyst? And the answer is, I don't really know. At this point, we are, I think, now going into 4 years into an economic expansion, and it's just not that unusual to be sort of in slow growth mode right now. And I think typically people are looking at this economy and saying, the catalyst is housing, which is undoubtedly true. But the problem with that, of course, for many of your listeners is that housing is just not a high intensity use for bolts, rivets, and screws. It tends to be used more for industrial purposes, non-res purposes, and so you have an economy that's getting somewhat stronger, but doing so in an area that's not perfectly suited to sort of the industrial landscape. And that's why I think a lot of people within industrial, and I'm just coming off earnings season, a lot of companies, but a lot of people within industrial have been sort of frustrated by how sluggish things remain despite a better housing market. And so I'm not sure what the catalyst is, but what I do know, or what I do think, is that based on the numbers we're seeing, if any catalyst does emerge, not only can you maybe see some better demand, but you could see some sort of buildup of stocks, which could make for a nice few months at some point down the road if we can find that catalyst.
Yeah, so what you're saying is maybe we may even get some better sales numbers in May.
Well, again, I don't know if it's in May. You need that catalyst, and the problem, and it would be an interesting question perhaps to put to the listeners and respondents to the survey. But the question is, what is that catalyst? Companies can live with low inventories if their demand profile is relatively stable, and that's the environment that we have right now. We need something that's going to cause people to believe that that the demand is going to get a little bit better. Not only so they can meet that demand, but they can rebulk up that inventory level. So what I'm telling you is not necessarily that we can necessarily see better numbers in May, but to the extent that some confidence begins to improve at some point, there's a fair bit of capacity for people to not only buy more product for end markets, but also to buy more products just for stock. I think there's a high capacity for that. But yeah, you're not going to get me on radio guaranteeing a time.
Okay. Now, I'm hearing a lot of, good things about automotive. Does that really play into this, you think, with the distribution market, or is there a lot of that just going direct?
Well, it certainly does, although I will say we don't have a lot of respondents that are heavy in the automotive side. So automotive companies, aerospace companies, they tend to be more direct buyers of large bulk quantities of product, and they tend to go perhaps direct to the OEM rather than going through distribution just because of the nature of those products. So but I think you're right. I think automotive is a bright spot in the economy right now. And again, as we listen to these earnings reports from the myriad companies that I deal with every quarter, they all universally tell you that automotive is doing fairly well. Everything else is pretty slow. And, so there is a bit of a bifurcation of the market here, right? It used to be that most of these markets would really move together. Whether the economy would get better, it'd be good for housing, it would be good for various industrial things, non-res. But in the last 10 or 15 years, you've really had a number of cycles where they haven't necessarily been in sync like they have in the past. You can have some areas that are really strong and some areas that are really lagging. And right now, what we're seeing is the areas of strength are in the housing market, are in the automotive market, basically the consumer. Whereas, the area of relative weakness really sits in infrastructure building and job shops and that sort of thing.
Now, what about, the recent stock market growth or upticks that we've seen compared to like relatively moderate FDI numbers as well as PMI numbers? Does that tell you anything?
I'm sure it does, although I am having a hard time figuring out what exactly. When I see the stocks that I cover doing fairly well in an environment where results are continuing to soften. Now, we know, of course, that the stock market is a discounting mechanism, so it's safe to say that the stock market really doesn't care that Fastener growth is sub 1 right now. The reason the stock acts well is out of a belief that 6 months down the road, that 0 to 1% growth in fasteners could look more like 6 to 10% growth. Whether it'll prove correct or not, we'll see. I think that the expansion of the stocks is really built on a promise. But I think by the same token, you are seeing some shifts. I mean, the industrial stocks are doing okay, but some consumer stocks and things like that, may be doing somewhat better. So again, you're seeing an economy that is stronger on the consumer end right now with housing and things like that than it is on the industrial end. And that's why no matter what the company is, if it's in the industrial space, it's sort of wondering where all the great times are, because things, as the FDI shows, is a 51.6 reading, things are relatively slow. That's from a volume standpoint. From a pricing standpoint, also fairly slow. Although, again, if we're characterizing the April reading as a teaser month, I would throw this there as well. In March, I would have characterized pricing as being between 0 and 1% for the industry. In April, I would characterize it as being closer to the top end of that range. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but in an indicator that has sort of been steadily creeping lower over the time that we've been tracking this, any sort of uptick like that is something that, if certainly not definitive at this point, is welcome. And you just wonder whether whether folks are maybe trying to play a little firmness in the economy, whether they're seeing perhaps foreign steel prices going up a little bit, and so maybe trying to get ahead of that. I don't know, but as a teaser indicator, that's how I'd characterize April, because it's the reading wasn't any better, but there were a couple things in there that might suggest that things might be getting a touch better.
Okay. I know in the FDI survey that you asked people about their outlook, and what kind of responses did you get for April on the outlook?
This is one which I like to suggest that maybe people are abandoning their dewy-eyed optimism in favor of pragmatic realism at this point. The number of optimists clearly retreated. In March, 64% of respondents thought that 6 months from now things would be better. In April, that number was down to 47%. However, what I would note is that those who are viewing the next 6 months as likely to be worse, that really didn't change. It was 13-14% in March. It was 13-14% in April. So what you saw was a lot of people sort of exiting the optimistic camp in favor of the camp that thinks that over the next 6 months things are going to kind of remain the same. Again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Conditions right now seem like they are growing, albeit at a relatively slow clip. And I just think that you're getting more people maybe thinking along the lines that I'm thinking of, I don't know what the catalyst is, that are sort of maybe instead of saying, well, things are going to get better in 6 months, instead saying, you know what, I think this is what we can kind of expect. That's kind of how I would read that. I don't see it as a reversal of any sort or a retreat from what has been a better series of readings in recent months. I just see it as perhaps a stoicism or pragmatism kind of creeping into the numbers.
They're settling in. And I would guess the pessimist group, that 13%, is probably the same people. From one survey to the other.
Well, one of the things that we promised the respondents is their anonymity. So I can't confirm that because we do in fact take that seriously. So I don't know who the respondents are that are negative or whether they're shifting, month to month. But your point is perhaps there's some folks that are in specific industries that are doing poorly, something to that effect. Fortunately, the index doesn't get into that degree of granularity, but it would certainly be interesting if we could.
Yeah, no, just a guess on my part. Now, the supplemental question this month was about Fastenal's presence in the market.
Yes, I thought it was a very interesting question, and the reason that we posed it is because, in Fastenal, this is a company that has historically been a very fast grower. I think a market share gainer, generally speaking, and I think one of the premium businesses within the fastener space. And one of the things that has marked it has been its ability to grow at a pretty good clip, certainly at a better clip than the market as a whole. And what we have noticed is that in recent quarters, Fastenal's growth rate within its fastener line has really shriveled up. In fact, in Q1, its fastener sales were only up about 0.7%, give or take a few tens of basis points. So, in a relatively flat to slow growth mode, Fastenal's fastener business grew in a relatively flat to slow growth way. And that's just not what we have over time been accustomed to seeing out of Fastenal. We've been accustomed to seeing them outperform the market. And and make no mistake, there are areas they're still outperforming. Their non-fastener business grew at a DSR of between 11 and 12%. So clearly, outside the fastener line, they're gaining market share. Your listeners might be interested to know, I think a lot of that is because of what they're doing with the vending machines. So the vending machines are continuing to be a tool, I think, for them to gain market share. But the more cyclically oriented fastener mix has really sort of come down to pretty anemic levels with the cycle as a whole, which is unusual. So we asked, what your listener, what the respondents were seeing from Fastenal in the market nowadays. And 53% of the respondents simply said, Fastenal has gotten so big that their numbers are going to reflect what the economy is saying. And the economy is, and the economy is flat to slightly up. Another 44% kind of felt like Fastenal had perhaps lost a bit of its touch in terms of selling fasteners. When they went up against Fastenal, it just didn't represent perhaps the same dire competition that it once did. But I think what's really meaningful is that amounts to about 97% of respondents who don't think that they're, gaining market share, if you will. And I would be willing to guess that 3-4 years ago, that may not have been the case. Now, I don't think that listeners should necessarily sort of sit back and assume that the Fastenal risk is past, because I think that Fastenal is also well aware of some of its shortcomings of late on fasteners and is doing some things internally to try to remedy that and sort of reinstall a stronger than market growth rate. So it's not necessarily the end, and I'm not sure that your listeners should fool themselves into thinking that it is. But I do think that it's interesting that you can find very few who are willing to say, they're still gaining market share hand over fist, and they're just impossible to compete with. that wasn't the tone that came out of the question. So it'll be interesting over time to see if Fastenal can sort of rekindle its efforts and sort of reassert its reputation and its success in gaining market share in the industry on the fastener side, because right now it looks like it's not doing that as much.
Well, that is an interesting result, and maybe one possibility is your point about the vending machines. Maybe they're finding the big sellers and the big growth things in vending machines aren't fasteners or other things like gloves or tools or supplies or
Well, that's right. And Fastenal specifically at this point does not sell a meaningful number of fasteners in its vending machine. And so now we get into the realm of speculation. My long-time speculation has been that Fastenal, with its push on vending, has probably maybe sort of lost sight of its non-vended products, a lot of which are fasteners. That's, of course, my theory, and my theory alone. But that's kind of why I would not suggest that any listeners sort of declare victory. Fastenal is not the threat that it was to take my market share and all that type of thing, because they have to remember that Fastenal, their attention may have diverted somewhere to the detriment of the fastener business, but it's a organization with tremendous resources that is very well managed, that has identified, if I can identify it, certainly they can, has identified that they've been falling a bit short on this measure lately. And, they may not be as nimble and quick as some of the smaller listeners here, but they circle the wagons pretty well. And if they determine that that's an area they want to focus on, and I think it is, there is a real chance, I think, that they could sort of begin to gain market share on the fastener side again. So yeah, if I would not look at the numbers and declare victory for the small fastener distributor. I think that Fastenal really has to look at. You still have to look at Fastenal as being a very significant threat within the market.
I see next month, Holden, that you're going to be in Rosemont, Illinois, and part of the Fastener Tech 13 show, doing a presentation on trends and new tools for the evolving fastener distribution industry in a session that's sponsored by the FCH Sourcing Network. What can you tell us about that?
That's right, Mike, and it's going to center largely on the Fastener Distributor Index. If you recall, when we started to roll this thing out about a year and a half ago, the point was to try to give the fastener industry a tool that it didn't have before, which is some timely information as it relates to matters of demand, outlook, and pricing. I think that the FDI provides that. I think we have a great pool of respondents that, if you look at how the FDI has performed against other sort of economic indices and such, I think that it's proven itself to be a valuable source of information, and we're looking forward to presenting that to more people, garnering even more interest, and continuing to improve the efficacy and information that the FDI has. So I'll plan on speaking about the FDI and making sure that it continues to get as much exposure as possible at that conference.
Okay, well, there should be a lot of people at the show. The preliminary numbers are looking pretty good. I'm going to be there at the show as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing you, Holden, in the Chicagoland area, as well as all the other fastener people.
I look forward to it as well.
All right, well, thanks again for giving us your insight on the FDI results for the month of April, and we'll talk to you again, and I'm sure a lot of listeners will be looking forward to seeing you in Chicago as well. That was Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Holden has a regular column on the FDI that appears in the print and digital editions of Fastener Technology International magazine. Next up, today's top fastener newsmaker headlines. The Industrial Fasteners Institute in Independence, Ohio, has released 2 new handbooks, one on mechanical fastening and joining, and the other on how to correctly tighten fasteners. Visit the reference book section of indfas.org to buy your own copies. IHG Capital, LLC of Dayton, Ohio, is seeking to purchase fastener companies having gross sales of $1 to $25 million US. IHG will consider fastener manufacturers and distributors. Contact Ernie Reiling at eriling@ihgcapital.com. Gary Mullen has been named Western Sales Territory Manager at Starborn Industries, Edison, New Jersey. Starborn is a manufacturer and distributor of fastening products, and Gary is responsible for expanding the sales relationships throughout the western United States. Aaron Dumonsky has joined Northeast Fasteners Corporation in Connecticut as NEF's new Director of Quality. Erin will be heading NEF's quality department along with NEF quality manager Joseph Longo, where she will assist the company in enhancing and expanding their military and aerospace quality capabilities. Elgin Fastener Group has announced the appointment of Carl Ondraka as General Manager, Cleveland Operations, with responsibility for EFG's manufacturing operations at Chandler Products, Quality Bolt and Screw, and Telefast Industries. And our top newsmaker headline is that positive results are being reported on the springtime fastener events in the United States. The New England Fastener Distributors Association, the North Coast Fastener Association, Pac-West, and the All-American Fastener Show have completed their regional exhibitions and social gatherings for the spring, and the feedback so far has been pretty good. The final event of the spring is Fastener Tech 13, which takes place June 10th through 12th in Rosemont, Illinois. This event includes over 130 exhibitors, a half a dozen education sessions, an all-industry reception, and hundreds of people focused on fasteners. Free exhibit passes are available online at fastenertech.com and mwfa.net through June 3rd. Finally, let's turn to the back page for a report on a commencement speech. Earlier this year, our president gave the commencement speech at The Ohio State University, my alma mater. Now, these speeches are not the place for trying to score political points, but I guess the temptation was too much, as the president was guilty of being in campaign mode on several occasions. First, he kept referring to our government simply as a democracy, as opposed to the federal republic that it is. There is a big difference between the two, and I'm guessing that most of the students didn't study the Constitution while on campus. The second was this quote: "Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's the root of all of our problems. Some of these same voices are also doing their best to gum up the works. They'll warn you that tyranny is always lurking just around the corner. You should reject these voices." Unquote. That's a pretty strong statement, and I don't know of any rational person calling for no government, aka anarchy. And I do know that tyranny has brought down countries, cultures, kingdoms, and empires all over the world for thousands and thousands of years, and it will continue to do so when centralized power is not limited. My final example is a veiled reference to the failed gun control law, when the president said, quote, "That's how a small minority of lawmakers get cover to defeat something the vast majority of their constituents want," unquote. I wonder how many of the Ohio State students would have voted for free tuition, free lunches, no homework, and easy exams if they were given the chance. In my opinion, it makes more sense to govern by logic, natural laws, and virtue instead of opinion polls. Here's some advice for future commencement speakers. Tell humbling stories about yourself and others, and leave the lecturing to the classroom. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Up next, it's a segment you deserve with Jackie Hunter and Jim Overlin of Stelfast. It's fully threaded.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, or just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in packaged quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plow bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware headquarters, for parts done right.
Fastener friends, if you're looking to celebrate a big sale, or if you just want to unwind after a tough day on the job, do it with the golden brown goodness of Old Rusty Bolt beer. It is the finest tasting beer in the Fastener world because Old Rusty Bolt beer is brewed specifically to satisfy the palates of Fastener folks everywhere. That name again, Old Rusty Bolt beer. An Old Rusty Bolt added to every bottle to enhance flavoring. Get some today. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and your Holden Bolt Company, official Fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt, the preferred beer of the traveling salesman. Tell them Rusty sent you.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann. I'm from Distributor Link Magazine, Naples, Florida, and it's the leading publication in the fastener industry, and we listen to Fully Threaded Radio.
Back with you on Fully Threaded Radio. This time we've got two people you certainly can trust, and among other reasons, that's because they're both from Stelfast, the Chicago office. With us now, we've got Jackie Hunter. She's the branch manager over there, and Jim Overlin, you're the Midwest sales manager. Welcome, guys.
Hi. How are you?
It's a great day here in Chicagoland. We finally got a little spring to warm us up. Finally, late May, but here it is.
Finally. I thought we were going to have winter forever.
It's actually summertime, as a matter of fact. Winter to summer.
You gotta love it. Well, we tried to get you guys on for the longest time, and I guess speaking of the weather, the last time we really talked in depth was all the way back at the Midwest Fastener Association Christmas party, and of course it was certainly very cold there, but it was a long time back, and we've just had all these crazy scheduling issues, so I'm really glad that you could finally make some time for us, and we got you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for persevering. We're glad to be with you.
Yeah, we're happy to do this.
Well, of course, Stelfast, you guys are great team members with us. We're glad to have you as partners. And why don't we take a look at what you're seeing here in the Chicago market currently these days? And Jim, I know you're out there on a daily basis talking to the fastener world. What's happening out there?
Well, you know, if you take a look at the PMI right now, it's taking a little dip here. But that is kind of contrary to what I'm seeing, and which is that there's a lot of construction starting up. It's construction season, of course, and there's a lot of outside opportunities that the weather was restricting. So I think it's been really positive for us. It's reflected in our sales that there's a real upswing to the confidence I think people have. They're building up their inventories, which is a good sign for the trends that are yet to come this year here.
Well, I know you won't have had a chance to hear Holden Lewis. He was on the segment just before this one, and it's interesting because a lot of what you just said jives with what he said. And, of course, the Fastener Distributor Index took a little bit of a dip as well last month. So you're saying that really in the Chicago area, construction is the main driver at this point?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's for the most part that the applications that the product we're selling is going towards. But certainly, you know, I think our manufacturing distributors are also showing strong sales at this point in time. So it's hard to really point to one segment, because I think in general, things are good right now. Things are really positive, and, obviously we're at the beginning end of manufacturing and construction and whatnot. So we see the trends before they hit the crest that's, the snapshot of the FDI or the PMI. So I like my customers. I have a really good feeling for where we're going here in the near term.
I like the sound of that. Jackie, is that pretty much hold up with what you're seeing too?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with Jim. We are seeing more activity, larger volume quotes and orders, and just things picking up in general. Customers, again, just to say what Jim said, they're holding inventory, they're planning ahead, and that's always a good indicator to us that things are on the upswing.
That's a good point, Jackie. And it's not just our, the standard items that we carry in our inventory here. But another good indication of the level of confidence our customers have is there, we have a pretty brisk increase in our mill business as well, which, that's not going to be a factor until obviously the production is complete somewhere in the future. So another good sign, I think, that things are improving.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Now, since the world changed a couple of years back with all the economic turmoil and so forth, we saw a couple of really kind of fundamental changes, or at least we've heard these things over and over. And one of those is that people are doing a lot more quoting, or asking for a lot more quotes, I guess you could say, and also that they're buying smaller batches more frequently. Is this something that you saw, and do you still see this trend?
That has to do with, that speaks to people being afraid to tie up the cash to hold the inventory. And that, further amplifies the point that what we're seeing now is very positive, and that fear is subsiding, I think, and that people are willing to hold a little inventory and have the confidence that they're gonna be able to sell it.
Or make commitments to us on, with stock and release programs, which we do really well, and we're seeing a lot more of that. So at least they're making the commitment, maybe not continuously quoting and reordering smaller amounts as far as maybe having us do a mill and stock and release as needed and making that commitment to us. So that's also a really good sign on a lot of positive things and, things getting better all around.
Interesting. So that is a part of your business that's growing.
Absolutely. Our mills department does a great job. We do stock and release, just it's so seamless to the customers that, it comes in, we take care of it, we ship it out, we'll hold it for them. It's just a great service that we do provide. And, right. we do any kind of mill. I mean, we'll do a direct mill. We'll do just in and out the door. But, I'd have to say, for me, I just can't emphasize on how wonderfully our stock and release program is.
And that goes for standard items as well as special per print items. We're seeing both of those come across to us here lately. And like Jackie said, that's a real value that we offer a customer. When you're in a commodity business, which I know you're obviously very familiar with the Fastener clearinghouse, it's not the items that distinguish you from your competitor. It's got to be something else, another value that you're adding. And, as you know from, as Simi rightly points out, and Jackie's saying as well, it's the level of service and personal connections we make with our customers that really distinguish us, I think, from our competitors.
I don't know if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast.
That's right.
It's not just a catchy phrase, it's true.
Well, yes. But speaking of the commodity items, you've expanded the line a little bit there. You're looking at the domestic grade 8 line expanding. Weren't you telling me that, Jackie?
Yes, we just added that line. It's very new to us. We just launched it about a week ago. So we're now carrying a full line of domestic grade 8 cap screws, plain zinc yellow. It's a great line for us to have, especially for those customers that only require U.S. made. and the steel from the United States and everything. So we're able to now have that option, and it really helps with the construction industry. I mean, I know that, on the job sites and everything like that, they need the domestic parts, and we will now be able to offer them, and it's really exciting, and it's really exciting for Cellfast. It's going to be a great line for us.
I bet it is. That is certainly an area there's been a lot of interest in lately, so glad to see Cellfast getting in the fray there.
Absolutely. It will really help round us out in the capture line.
Right. Yeah. We're committed to expanding our lines and growing and changing with the needs of our customers. And one thing that I heard, and obviously it's not just from my own experience, but other voices in the company too, we noticed that we were missing an opportunity to help out with those customers whose applications required, U.S. domestically made and poured material. So, we answered the call that our customers were making to.
We listen to our customers, and that's something that we do really well. When Jim's out on the road or anybody else is out on the road, we're listening to our customers. So when they say, we really can only use domestic cap screws. Well, we write that down, we pass that along to Simi, to OJ, to Don. We get that information out there so that we listen to our customers and make sure that, hey, they listen to us. We said we wanted that, and you know what? They carry it for us.
Right. You use the word partnership, Eric, and that's perfect. I mean, that perfectly describes the relationship that we seek with our customers.
Well, that's a good way to be. When you're advancing these kinds of relationships, it's always good to have the communication and to figure out what ways you can improve and what ways you can help your partners to improve the service part of the relationship. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'll just throw it out there. If there's one way that the distributors could operate a little bit differently, perhaps, to allow you guys to serve them better, is there any ideas? Is there any one thing that really strikes you?
We have pretty good, not to continue the love fest we have going here, but we really have pretty good luck with our customers. I think there's good communication. They give us as much opportunity as they can in terms of advance notice. Just to make sure that they're sending all their orders to Cellfast, which is one improvement.
Well done. Well, I guess one good thing you have going for you is that you're shipping till 4 o'clock, so the late orders are not going to be a problem.
Not at all. That is part of our customer service levels, is that we do have great warehouses in all of our branches, and they are, willing to take the extra step and pull those orders late and get those trucks in and make sure that everything goes out the same day. We get late calls, we get it done, and it's just it's very comforting to our customers knowing that they can count on us. If something comes through at 3:30, they know, well, let me call up Cellfast, they'll get it to me, and it just makes ease of business for our customers knowing that they have that in their back pocket, that they know that they can count on us. We really pride ourselves on that, and we're able to get those late orders out. And she's gonna bark. I'm sorry.
What happened?
The dog. I'm sorry.
I think we just had a Fastener dog interruption.
Yes, we did.
Well, you warned me about that earlier, Jackie.
I know. I'm sorry. Why do they got to cut the grass right now? And she's got to be barking at them.
Well, it's always that or the UPS man. But fortunately, on Fully Threaded Radio, we have plenty of Fastener dogs on the show making cameo appearances. So more the merrier.
Yes. Well, anyways, about us, our customer service, our warehouse personnel is just wonderful. They care about their customers, and that's really important. That they also have the need to make sure that the customers are happy. It's not just picking an order for them. It's making sure that order is picked correctly and shipped that same day. And that is it's for us in the sales desk. It's so comforting to know that we can count on our warehouse at any time of the day.
Yep, that's true. It's never a question. The manager tells me all the time, if we can do it, we will do it. And that's something that I hear from my customers too. It's not just Jackie and I saying it, but they are constantly commending exceptional accuracy and getting things out, from an order placed late in the day. They're universally commended for their hard work, and they are a hard-working bunch too. For the size of the crew, their output is incredible.
Well, having a solid team is critical to success, especially in this market these days. So good to hear all of that. Just out of curiosity, what percentage of the orders that come in every day would you say require 24-hour turnaround? I mean, really require it?
90% of them?
Actually, maybe that was a bad way of phrasing it, like 24-hour delivery.
I was going to say a pretty significant percentage of them are same day. In addition to the long-term stock for release stuff, a lot of the smaller orders obviously are. So there is a immediacy still to the market that will never go away. I don't think.
And also, I mean, we will hold for prepaid freight and transfers, and that's another thing that we offer and we do very well is our transfer programs. We're transferring from all over our country with all the branches, and so I mean, it all depends. Most of them, it is, I would say, I mean, it could be anywhere from 80 to 90% have to ship same day, unless they're waiting on transfers or holding on freight to get prepaid freight.
Got it. Well, having 9 locations across North America for StelFast has got to come in real handy for that type of a model. Well, this has been kind of a warm and fuzzy conversation overall, I'd have to say, which is a good thing. But on that subject, and StelFast has got something else that it's very well known for, and that's the world famous StelFast monkeys. So the question I've got to get out there is, how does the color of every year's StelFast monkey, how does that get out into the organization? Because I got to tell you, it's like a steel trap. I can never get any forewarning. We got pools going on what the color's going to be, and I don't know, how do you keep it so tight over there?
Well, it's people you trust. That's it. We're trusted with secret information, and we keep it to ourselves until the time is right.
Yeah, you know what? The color of the monkey is always everybody's favorite question to ask, and it brings some excitement because you know when it's going to happen at the Vegas show, and everybody, that's always the question: what's the monkey going to be? And and we usually find out we don't find out until very close to Vegas on what the monkey's going to be, and we love the monkey. I love the monkey, I have to say.
Yeah, it's really a perfect representation of the family vibe here. The family friendly vibe, and the value of family and children and whatnot. That's to me, that's what the monkey represents. But you're right, Eric. It is a secret along the lines of who shot JR or who shot Mr. Burns.
Yeah,
it is
kept on lockdown. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you a true story. A couple of weeks back, Brian and I went out on the road, and we were pretending to be sales reps, and we shot out in a couple of different directions and visited a whole bunch of distributors, and over half of them had a monkey visible somewhere in the office. So you guys are doing something right.
Yeah, we're getting them out there.
It's always a good conversation piece.
We're making friends one monkey at a time. It's true.
That's a great way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jackie Hunter, you are the branch manager for the Chicago StelFast office, and Jim Overlin, you're the Midwest salesman. Sure do appreciate you joining us here on Fully Threaded Radio today.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Good talking to you.
We'll see you guys at Fastener Tech.
Okay, sounds good.
See you, Eric.
Whether you began as the janitor or the CEO, hopefully you'll finish up with us. Coming up next, it's Fully Threaded. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
I need 5,000 3/4 10 by 9 and 3/4 grade 8 zinc yellow tap bolts right away, but they're not a standard size.
Solution Man Ken. I carry a wide variety of sizes and I can quickly cut them to any length. See Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Using your bare hands?
I do use a saw on smaller parts, actually.
These guys aren't screwing around much. Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio, Internet Talk Radio for the fastener industry.
This is a traveling salesman at Fastener Talk, fastenerblog.net, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on the online Fastener Party Bungalow.
Right.
Well, it was good to talk to Jackie and Jim of Stellfast, and it sounds like a really smart move for them to get into the domestic grade 8 line. That's definitely a commodity in demand.
Yeah, we see that on FCH when we measure the searches. There's uptick in the searches for this construction fasteners and grade 8.
Yeah, and the domestic side as well. I mean, I can't say that I have a real clear idea about if that is increasing or not, but I don't know. I like the feel of it.
Right. Okay.
And, of course, it's always good to talk to people you trust.
And service you deserve. See, I listen to these ads too, okay?
And that's Stellfast.
Yeah.
And we'd like to thank all of our guests today, and they include Jackie Hunter and Jim Overlin of Stellfast. Also, Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International Magazine, and, of course, Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Great job in the FDI presentation today, you guys. The sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio were Stellfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stellfast. Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Fastenal. Buckeye Fasteners. Solution Industries, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Fastener Technology International Magazine. Man, that's getting to be quite a long list, Bri.
Yeah, it is. You'll have to start recording that, okay? So push the button and, spill them all out.
Well, that's the way we do Fully Threaded, Bri. One episode at a time. And you know what? I have no problem listing them out on each show because they're real important to us. Well, hey, everybody, get with us if you're so inclined at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also out there on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded. Plus, we put associated links for the show on our Facebook page, and that's the Fully Threaded Facebook page. Get out there to get some supporting links and so forth. And we'd be glad to communicate with you that way as well.
Right. We really do like to get info, feedback, and feel free to send us a note, okay?
Now, speaking of Twitter, Bri, did you see people over at the All-American Fastener show walking around tweeting? I mean, did you get an impression on whether a lot of that was going on or not?
Yes, actually I did, and I felt considerably left out of it, to be truthful. I saw them the very first night I arrived there. I was sitting around having a few beers with people, and I was the only person who didn't have my phone out doing something.
Well, one of the reasons I was curious is because I was very happy to see that you did get one picture out there, and dipping your toe into the water occasionally is a good thing, and of course we talk about it all the time. But there were, I would say, an above average number of tweets that came out of that show. It wasn't overwhelming, but it's always nice to see action from the ground. I mean, it's real time reporting from the world of fasteners.
Right, and it was sort of the tone of the show too. It was sort of a laid back, but really a show where you could, make connections with people much more so than, say, at Las Vegas, which is just a different atmosphere. I liked it.
Yeah, well, one of the differences there, it's so fast paced, and even if you're so inclined, you're just so busy that you can't do it. And of course, the other is the frequent visits to the bar.
Right. Well, I have to say one of the really different things is that, I've been going to these shows in Las Vegas, you and I have for years, and this is the first time I've actually been able to just sit outside in a patio with a group of people in this industry and sit and talk to them and actually hear what everyone's saying. Very cool, because usually it's in a bar somewhere. You can hear like every 10th word you hear, and you're nodding to pretend you're hearing everything. It was a really good environment to me.
All the better for the Twitterification of the fastener world, if that's what you're into. One of the reasons that I'm dwelling on this, Bri, isn't because I know that you're a big fan.
Right, it had to be another reason, okay.
But I stumbled into an article in the Weekly Standard a couple of weeks ago that I thought you'd get a kick of. We'll put this up on the Facebook page. The title is The Twittiocracy. And it's by a guy by the name of Matt Labash. And as you can tell from the title, he's not a real big fan. And I know a lot of people out in the fastener world aren't either. And I don't know, call me a provocateur, but I just keep rubbing it in. Here's a little segment out of this that's kind of juicy for you Twitter haters. He says, here's a short list of how pathological the Twitterification of the world has become. A Houston hospital felt it necessary to live tweet a brain surgery.
Ooh.
Here's another one. A second grade class in Buffalo corrected the misspelled tweets of an NFL player as a grammar exercise.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I noticed the guy subtitled his article with "The Decline of Western Civilization," 140 characters at a time.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the big knocks. I mean, the short attention span. Here's another one. A Washington, D.C. hotel promised a, quote, dedicated social media butler as part of a $47,000 Obama inaugural package to chronicle the experience, quote, so your friends and family can follow your adventures on Twitter.
Right.
Elsewhere in the government world, the British media announced the appointment by David Cameron of a, quote, Twitter czar. And get this, the Twitter czar is to be paid nearly as much as the prime minister.
Oh, God. Okay.
So if you got knocks against Twitter, this is a great story for you. And, right, it sounds like you got to absorb this when you get an opportunity.
I'll read it a little more carefully, okay?
Well, you got plenty of time to do so because it's now time to wrap up episode 64 of Fully Threaded Radio.
It's been fun.
Twitter lovers, Twitter haters, as long as you're fastener lovers, we hope to see you here next time.
Right.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics. Is there anything you can't do, Solution Man?
When it comes to fasteners, nothing I can think of, ma'am. I'm not too good at bowling, though. Actually, I am. I'm very good, damn it. And it's hard for me to say that.